Good evening, everyone. And the recording is going. Okay, so welcome. We have a quorum. Well, actually, it's a caucus, so it doesn't matter. Welcome to the March 2nd caucus and work session of the Albany Common Council. Just to take a roll, head count, council members Anani, Keegan, Hoey, Zamer, Clark, Frederick, Adams, along with Council President Ellis and our staff clerk, Daniel Gillespie, legislative aide, Ethan Samuel. We're joined by Luis Roldan from the planning department, who's gonna say a few words to us here to get us started. We'll just give it another minute to see if
Sergio just jumped in.
Yeah, I got Adam. I got him as he was coming in. So we're also joined by Mr. Robinson. Okay, with that, Mr. Roldan's here to talk to us a little bit about planning and some of their processes. I will. Can you hear me, Mr. Roldan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, just a quick announcement and a request for the department. We're trying to meet with the Common Council representatives individually to kind of introduce our department and start a dialogue to get to understand the priorities for members, both new members and existing members, and emerging concerns that they may be noticing in their wards. So we want to go over like what our department functions are. And we're also looking to get input from members on what they're hearing from their constituents. But we're also wanting to inform representatives of what projects or cases might be relevant to them in their ward, and also maybe talk about what their priorities are for their ward as well. So I just wanted to put that that request out there, and if anyone is interested, you can either raise your hand or nod or something. I'll just take down your information and I'll follow up with you directly, and we can take it from there. So I see Representative Keegan, Representative Zamer. And just to be, I think there was a new member just joined. The Department of Planning and Development is trying to start a dialogue to understand the priorities and emerging concerns from members of the and their wards. So we're looking to just put out a request out for members who may be interested in wanting to sit down with us. Thank you, I see Representative Hoey. And we want to basically just go over what the department functions are, and we're also looking to get input from what they're hearing from constituents, and also maybe inform about projects or potential projects in your wards as well. So we just want to take an opportunity to start a dialogue and maintain that line of communication open so that we have more of a productive and ongoing relationship with the Common Council members, so that we're aware of what they know about their constituents, and we're aware of any questions or concerns they may have, and try to incorporate that as much as we can in any of our projects that we have going on in their wards. So if you are interested, just let me know. You can either raise your hand or signal me somehow, and I'll just write your name down and I'll follow up with you directly, and we will set up those meetings. Representative Clark, I see your hand. I've noted your name down as well. So thank you, everyone. I see Representative Romero as well. Thank you. And that was it. Just wanted to see if we can start that conversation and keep that dialogue open. So I'll take any questions if you have them, but that was all I needed to request.
Just thank you for coming. I look forward to talking with you.
Tom Hoey has his hand raised. And what I'll also do as a follow-up is I'll send out an email with Luis Roldan's email contact number. So for those of you that weren't unable to publicly raise your hand, you can contact him off.
Leave my information in the chat as well. Well, actually, I don't think I can. Never mind.
Sure.
Yep.
Luis, I brought this up during planning, and I don't want to come off like an old curmudgeon, but I am an old curmudgeon. I have a real concern, and it's hard to put into words, or it's frustrating to me. We have a university that I know that, if I remember correctly, you graduated from with a planning degree, and it's being really squeezed on the student dorm front. Right now, and I don't know who represents the alumni quad dorms, those dorms are totally empty, and there's no plan to open them up because we don't have students to put in them. And we're really being pressured, because I do, full disclosure, I work at the university. I've been there almost 33 years. We're having real problems with the amount of private dorms going up. And I brought this up during planning. The university can't go out publicly and say, this is causing us a problem, okay? Because you have that public versus private scenario going on. And for a long time, and I know the previous governor, was all about, let's not do stuff public. Let's the private side take care of what our needs of the community. And this is on a bigger scale, but it's really, really hurting us. And to see the downtown dorms and, being totally abandoned, and we're talking about another 500 beds being placed on Washington Avenue. There's something like 500 beds being, it's not in the city, so you have nothing to do with it, but just that you're aware, where Dunkin' Donuts was on Western Avenue, right over the border in Guilderland, they're talking about putting up a 500 bed dorm. And already we've had over 1,000, well over 1,000 beds that are turned private. And actually, if you go by Block 75, if you're on I-90, you look at how it's all graffitied up in the back. It's frustrating that that does not come into play when we're looking at these projects. And some years ago, when Al came up for reappointment, my question to him was, has there been any major projects that the planning board turned down? And he said there was 2 or 3, and they were like small, like 2 or 3 family type of houses that were rejected. Anything that comes in front of the planning board gets approved. I mean, we do force, because I've gone down and testified, we do get some kind of, changes to the plans to try to make it more compatible. But, and again, I'm not talking about apartments. I'm talking right now about dorms and the effect it's going to have on this university of ours. We know, if you look at the demographics, that by 2025, the student population it just drops. And we know it was the Great Recession really impacted couples that they didn't want to have children, couldn't afford it. They had no jobs. Student debt is crazy with the amount of money. And, we've had a lot of shifts. So I just want to get, there's no answer, yes or no or right. But I would hope that, the planning department could advise the planning board, who has the ultimate say, that the impact, the financial impact that this will have on the university, which, as we know, and I was in Buffalo yesterday, I'm going to Plattsburgh on Friday looking for funding. We all know that SUNY is an economic engine that creates jobs and opportunity for lower class to make people middle class and stuff. And, I know for a fact that Albany, 10% of our revenue comes from the dorms. It also provides jobs, union jobs for RAs, RDs, maintenance people. These are all unionized jobs. And we're allowing this private industry to come in, and those jobs are not unionized. They're understaffed, most of the places, if you take a look. So I know it's long, I don't want to hog the whole meeting, but I need to get that out there for you. And if, like I said to the other planners, when we had the planning board meeting, if you want to see your children be able to go to SUNY, you got to start looking at what you're doing and how you're impacting. And it affects the whole city, because the more students we bring up and, that we're able to stay open, It's going to create jobs. It's a good thing for the city. Thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Okay, so with that, thank you, Mr. Roldan. We'll get back to our meeting, and I'm sure members will be reaching out to you. I will. 2 words: Central Warehouse. So I'll be trying to catch up to you. All right. So back on the agenda. Have we been joined by anyone else? Okay.
Yes, we have 2 members joined.
Okay, which?
Frederick just joined.
Oh, she was.
And Flynn.
I just joined on a second device.
Okay, yeah, she was here already. Okay, okay, we're joined by Mr. Flynn. And okay, so agenda-wise, I'll be offering the meeting minutes from the February 24th meeting for passage. Under consideration of local laws, we'll have under local laws held, Mr. Anani's local law B. I'll be making a motion to discharge it from committee. I inadvertently sent it. We had a conversation about it in caucus at our last caucus about just introing and holding it. It's the local law where we were extending the time for the internet municipal internet commission. So I'll be discharging and looking to pass it. It's one of those things where we all have to be unanimous on it in order to move forward with it. So again, I inadvertently sent it to committee when it was just supposed to be held for aging. That's it for local laws. Then we go to resolutions introduced by Ms. Frederick, consenting to a position being added to water and water supply. Did you want to speak to that, Ms. Frederick? No, okay, so yeah, it'll be a referral to the Finance Committee, which I'm assuming that Commissioner Coffey will be at the meeting to explain, what this is. So that will be an intro and referral to Finance. Okay. Then next, on to resolutions. Under resolutions held, Mr. Anani's crash victims' rights and safety legislation will be moving. Right? This is when you want to move forward with it. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. So we'll be voting on that also, and that would be it for our agenda. Just talk about a few other things. We had the leadership meeting, but the mayor and her chief of staff weren't able to attend. We did have a conversation with Mr. Williams and the Corp Counsel, Ms. Francini, about productivity and the meetings and how we didn't think they were as productive as they could be. So we're going to try to do something different. And they basically said, hey, kind of give us some direction. We ask questions about stuff we care about and stuff we get forwarded by you all, but just I'm putting this out to the council just in a more general sense. Think about if there's anything weighing on you or you need information about, or you want us to bring up, you could shoot us an email or call one of us and talk through it, and we'll be sure to do that and have that conversation with them. Because the thing is, it's like myself and the other council members, we work, and so most of us are moving things around to make it to these meetings, whereas it's kind of like the mayor's full-time job, so it's not much for them. But we want to be productive and have a good partnership. Is what I hope to have, a good working relationship on all things, and I don't feel like we're there yet. So just
Hey, Kelly,
mhm.
just a question. I don't know if we brought this up before, but if there can be maybe an agenda created before each meeting to be sent out to the council members, just so we know what is going to be discussed and what's going to be addressed at the leadership meetings. I think that will increase some efficiency there.
Okay. Right, and when I talk about, and we can do that if you'd like. When I talk about, I mean, we discussed the agenda, which is it's what it is. But again, I feel like I'm sitting there asking questions and I'm driving the whole, they're answering my questions, but it's a partnership, right? So whatever's going on in the city that maybe they're working on, kind of would be nice to be let in on those discussions. So we see things come in, not that it's a bad thing, but just, just my thoughts. But the agenda thing, it probably won't contain a whole lot most of the time, but yeah, that's fine. Ms. Zamer.
So does the administration ask you to discuss certain things with us, or do they use that leadership meeting as an opportunity to, because you hear things, you hear issues behind the scenes, and it seems like it might be more productive if they asked you to come to us to discuss certain issues.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen?
No.
So it's just you guys kind of telling them what our next meeting is going to be about, and
but no, if there are issues and like over the last couple of months, like Miss Keegan sent us some stuff on parking. Some members are sending stuff and saying, hey, can you ask about this or ask about that? But on the whole, my problem isn't, I can think of a lot of stuff to say and I can keep going on and on, but right, we're supposed to be working together. I'm saying I expect more.
yeah,
not just for the sake of coming back and sharing more with you, because I really want to know. We all care. We all want to make a difference. We should be working together. So
right, because it seems like that's what this is, that opportunity to sort of to work some issues out, or at least discuss them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Holy.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you made out with the ENA meeting. We had talked about that before. And that might be a good vehicle to get more information. I'm just curious.
Good. It was good meeting. It wasn't very long. I again was recognized, as President Pro Tem. So and I voted. So from this point forward, me or it's going to be our finance chair will be recognized on the agendas as a voting member. It's just that the change occurred after the agenda had already gone out. So it was the old one. So we're good. No issues whatsoever.
Did Corporation Council vote still, or did they?
No vote. No. And there are some issues or some payouts or things on the some legal stuff on there. So that's why I would imagine that the Corporation Council is going to still be there, just not voting, because we need explanations on some of the stuff, the legal stuff. Okay. So also committees. We need to get going on. We have a few vacancies on committees where on the council side we have appointees. I'll ask Danielle to send the list out. This one that jumps to mind is Human Rights Commission, and I think we kind of started a process at the end of last year and never quite completed it, and we're trying to get it started again. So we got to get going with the committee meetings so we can appoint these folks, because that's the process by which we interview and select folks. So Yeah.
Can I just speak to the Human Resources, Human Rights, the Human Commission?
Yes,
appointment?
yes, sir.
So
Thank
I had
you.
a question. I had a conversation today with our legislative aide, and we are going to be reissuing the request for applications. The last round that we did, we didn't get many back. But so we're going to consider the applications that we got before, as well as I thought it would be a good opportunity for the request for applications to go out again for the newer council members who may want to recommend people for the commission to apply as well. And so once we finish the the RFA, then we'll hold a meeting for the to interview those who apply.
Okay. And so we're not requiring the folks that are already in the queue to apply again, or are you requesting that they, okay, all right.
Right. So we'll just make a call to them for an interview date.
Okay. All right.
If they're still interested.
Okay. Ms. Keegan.
I just thought of this while Jamel was talking about the Human Resources and Human Rights Committee. I don't believe that committee on the council has met yet this year since we all came in. And I would just like to put in a request for us to schedule a meeting, and particularly to have Rachel McEnany in to kind of discuss what the current issues are facing our staffing crisis in the city, since that is something that we perhaps need to think about addressing on the council and assisting the city with. That's all. While it was brought up as a topic of conversation, I figured I'd throw it in.
Thank you. So we are right now looking at the date of March 23rd for a meeting. We are contacting Rachel McEnany at the current time to see availability of the schedule.
Great. I have neighborhood association meetings at 7 o'clock that day. Just when you're thinking about scheduling, that's all.
I'll be reaching out to everyone on that committee to see what day works best.
Okay. It's good. And so also on the committee's council ethics, we met, operations and ethics, we met for the reapportionment commission. We made our selections. I got Mr. Williams working on a resolution to appoint the folks. The idea is we'll just do the 10 because it was originally 9. We'll adjust the resolution to appoint the folks that all the folks that we interviewed, and adjust it the number from 9 to 10 in the resolution. So we're getting that ready, so we should be able to pass it at our next meeting. Ms. Frederick, and then Mr. Flynn.
Thank you. Just to clarify, they're all going to be on a volunteer basis then?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mr. Flynn?
It has to do with the council, the Human Rights Committee. Is it we didn't have a quorum, or is it we didn't have enough to have a quorum? Because a friend of mine is on that commission. And he said in the last 2 meetings there was no quorum, or did we not have enough for a quorum?
I believe it's that they don't have enough with the shortage of members to have a quorum. So they had, I believe they had to cancel. The Human Rights Commission had to cancel their last meeting because they didn't have members. So yeah.
All right, thank you. I was just wondering. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Anani.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just take some notes earlier. But as it relates to the leadership meeting, is there any update on the paid equity study? No? Okay.
No, there's no update on that yet. I think that they're still working through it, but it is something we pushed for.
All right, sounds good. And also want to give a heads up, there's a park and recreation meeting that's going to take place on March 10th at 5:30. And it's going to just go over the summer youth employment programs and just the Parks and Recreation, introduce the Parks and Recreation Commissioner to the council and new members. So I just want to throw that out there. And then lastly, I know many people, receive calls and emails from me and just several discussions regarding the American Rescue Funds, and potentially the council actually applying for some funds. It's no secret, there's a large pool of funds that are available. We got $81 million, the mayor, the council, we all negotiated to set 25 million aside. And from what I'm hearing, there's been just a few applications that have been received. And also there's been, I don't know, Megan, you shaking your head? I don't know.
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. And also I'm hearing too that there's a city departments that is also applying for some of these funds. And just putting all that into consideration, I thought that it would be good for the council to apply for some of these funds. What I envision is members, they do say that we can apply and we do receive the funds. What I envision is that members going to council leadership and submitting a formal request to support some neighborhood initiatives that are happening in the awards. And some of these funds are these are initiatives that traditionally are not funded by the city. I think we could follow the model similar to how the county legislatures do it with their grant distribution to legislators. And I think that from when I speak to my county legislator, the process is that they submit a request, either email or letter to the chair of the legislature, and it gets reviewed and they get a check to whatever entity that they would like to see. I understand that there are many concerns about restrictions placed on these funds. However, I think it's more than worth it to give it a try. The worst that can happen is that the city or the task force says no, and we could go back to the drawing board. And I think that, when you look at council members and the work that we do, we know our wards better than anyone in the city. And I appreciate the task force that's put together. And I'm not trying to dismantle the task force. I think people can still apply through the task force, but I think that, we have unique skills and we know what our wards specifically need. And I think this will be, I envision each ward getting $50,000. That would equate to $750,000. And this could be for initiatives and beautification projects in our respective wards. I received a lot of calls of support. Quite frankly, I think I didn't hear from 3 people out of 15, but majority of the people that I spoke to are all in support. There are some people who have some concerns as relates to transparency. And I think that that's what we're all here for, right? We can all put our heads together and to answer that question. But again, I just wanted to throw that idea out there. I think for us to check and balance the administration, or even just to show some power to to our constituents, this is another opportunity that so many of our constituents, they rely on us, businesses rely on us, several entities in our district, they all rely on us because they understand that local government is starting to matter. And I think this is a great opportunity for the council. And again, the worst thing they could say is no, but we cannot be afraid to try. I know it might be difficult, but that's why we got elected, right? To do the difficult work. So I hope that all of us could work to see this through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nani. Ms. Keegan.
So a couple of things. I mean, number one, there are people on the council who are directly involved in the disbursement of the $25 million in ARPA funds. So I have some significant concerns with regards to the ethical implications of the council applying for those funds when in fact we have at least 4 members who are in the final decision-making body as to how those funds will get distributed. Secondly, I don't know where the information is coming from that there haven't been a significant number of applications, because that's not true. And certainly not what was reported out today in the meeting that we had with administration over the grant process. And lastly, I know that we've had some behind the scenes discussions, but nothing in the proposal thus far for how we would apply for these funds aligns with anything that's outlined in ARPA or the city's grant making process. This is not a program that's designed to create a slush fund for us to just distribute grant money out. It's a very, very specific. It requires a significant amount of administrative and reporting oversight. And so, you know, I'm still kind of waiting to hear like a really cohesive plan for how this would be done and whether it is even allowable given the current conditions and involvement of the council in the grant process.
Yeah, well, valid questions. Thank you for your opinion. Again, this is an idea that I wanted to bring out and to work with council members in ways that we could achieve this. I speak to council members all the time, and I hear about some of the things that they go through. And sometimes, you know, there are some financial constraints that businesses and also other entities call on them for. I think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it doesn't hurt to try. I know there's people who have the legal minds that have come up with the guidelines and what we could do and what we can't do, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try. So that's where I am at right now, and I would like to hear from, you know, the people who have read the document as relates to the guidelines, saying that maybe we don't qualify as council to apply, but when you hear department heads applying and other entities applying, I think it's in the best interest for us to.
Again, I would go back to the fact that those individuals do not have oversight over the distribution of those funds, and they have a very specific fleshed out plan that aligns with the ARPA funding and the city's intention for those grant pool. What I would like to hear from you, Owusu, is like an actual fleshed out idea that matches up with the city's grant process.
Well,
and I haven't heard that from you yet.
No, I know this is in the early stages. I just sent the information out, and I look forward to working with all the council members to come up with a flushed out plan, and maybe you and I could meet to help with that process. But I look forward to working with all council members who have shown support for this request. Again, it's in the early stages, and we shouldn't be afraid to, you know, try or seek change for our respective districts. But I'm willing to work with everyone to achieve this goal.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Kimbrough. Mr. Anani said he wanted to hear from someone who has read the guidelines as they were set up. Well, I happen to be just such a person, as should all of the council members who were present on the last council, since those guidelines were in Ordinance 31-102-21, which you all voted on and fought very hard to have enacted, if you recall. So that item of legislation, one of the goals of that item of legislation was to prevent an individual, in the mayor as it happened, but any individual really, doling out ARPA money without any form of review, which sort of seems to be what the request here is for council members to be able to hand out money to causes which may be noble causes, but to whichever causes they see fit. And I'm not understanding how that money or how those requests would be reviewed, like the council wants that money to be, and you know, as it frankly should be. So, you know, we seem to be skipping the steps that the council put in place in Ordinance 31-102-21 with this request. And, you know, part of that ordinance as well was establishing the long-winded name, but the American Rescue Plan Funding Appeal Review Board, which, as Councilmember Keegan pointed out, several council members sit on that board. So right away, as Councilmember Keegan pointed out, you have a pretty significant conflict of interest issue there. That board also has to report back with proposed disbursement of all the funds to the full council. So then you have a question of whether every single council member who distributes funds through this proposed plan would have a conflict of interest. And I think you do have an issue there. Another potential problem area I don't know the full extent of how this would work, but my understanding is that there would be some sort of contract involved to people to whom distributions are made, and under Article 18 of the General Municipal Law, public officials, including council members, are all prohibited from entering into contracts that from which they might benefit. Again, I would have to do some more looking into how this would work, but any such contract is just void. It's not something that can be cured. It's just a void contract. So that would be a problem, obviously. Yeah, it's simply an issue of oversight. You know, ARPA is very specific in how this money can be dispersed. And you know, that obviously needs review through the proper channels, through the proper legal channels. And this proposal, such as it is at the moment, doesn't really seem to give that review, and presents a number of ethical issues that I don't know how those would be overcome.
Yeah. Thank you for your opinion, Brett. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Carroll?
Hi, I just wanted to note that since I'm on the review board, I am not really going to be participating in the discussions, and I would definitely recuse myself from any review of the application. However, the applications are a rolling application, so there is time. You know, it definitely, I would say, for any application and anybody listening to this, they should be a thoroughly vetted and thought out plan. And I also would make sure that there's no conflicts of interest with it. And, but, you know, with that, I think there should be we can figure out if there's a function to make sure that there is, that I think the council members that are on that review process should recuse themselves. So I think that's another thing that we have to have an internal discussion if there are council priorities that are moving forward, that we should figure that out in terms of the actual review process. So.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Ms. Zamer? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to add that I feel like my role as a council member in this round of ARPA funding has been to make sure that I publicize it to my ward and that I encourage people to apply. I've had a lot of constituents call me and say, I don't know if our group da 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 da, and I said, look, you know, you should hear, and I provide them with as much information as I can. I feel like that's more of an appropriate role for us. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
I was just going to mention that I'm not sure how everyone else is involved with their neighborhood associations, but I know like the Delaware Avenue Neighborhood Association and some other ones, they're applying for funds to actually help out the neighborhood. So, I mean, I think that was a good way for the neighborhood association to apply for the funds to help distribute it and get into the areas that need the help, and still, meanwhile, working with the community to get more input on what we'd like to see those funds be used for. So if your neighborhood associations aren't doing it, I mean, I would encourage them to do it. It seems like that's more of the best course of action if we want to directly help the neighborhoods that we're representing.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Hoey?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Sergio, because I looked into trying to help out the neighborhood association up here in Eagle Hills. One of the problems with, you know, I know how Eagle Hill is set up. You can't have more than $2,000 in the treasury, or now you have to start doing all sorts of IRS forms, and it gets a lot more complicated. So I know with our neighborhood association, we've always kept the balance under 2,000, and we only collect dues, when it gets low, so we don't run into that problem with the IRS. But one of the things I was thinking is trying to, because when Owusu mentioned this to me, I was thinking right away, the school in my area, we have 56% of the students live below the poverty line. And I was hoping, well, maybe we can use this. We had started a backpack program some years ago that the school district doesn't pay into, where we send kids home on the weekend stuff with food, because the only time a lot of them eat is when they're at school. So maybe it's something I can have the PTA fill out a form to apply for these funds. But I've been struggling trying to find what kind of groups up here that I could touch and let know. I mean, the neighborhood association jumps out, PTA, but I don't know anybody else. So that was why when Owusu brought this up to me, it was like, great, this is something now we can actually try to help people out. But I understand all the other questions, all the other stuff that was brought up I wasn't aware of. But
Tom, with the backpack program specifically, and I don't know, I mean, I'm obviously very much involved with AFE, but that's through the Albany Fund for Education. I don't know if they've made an application for it, but it's definitely something that, because there is a rolling thing, I might reach out to, maybe I can connect with you and you can talk to them about it, since I'd love to, keep neutrality with this. But
my wife was the PTA president who started the program here at Eagle Point. And she went out to businesses and got donations from them. So I don't know who, I'll talk to her. But yes, Ginny, I appreciate any help and guidance.
Yeah, I like, why don't we just connect with that? Because that's, the AFE does the backpack program. They partner with several organizations. So there should be some sort of connect that we can help with that.
Thank you.
Okay, so any further discussion on this? The thing is, the idea is a great idea if it were possible and a legal way to do it, and you could move forward with it. But and I mean, that's the concern I expressed to you, Mr. Nani, when great idea, but how do you implement it with all these pitfalls and hoops to jump through and rules? And so I mean, I think we can continue to, well, again, I'm one of the folks on that review board. So the conversation and discussion can continue, and you can try to come up with something. I would suggest talking to Mr. Williams a little further. I mean, he's obviously clearly stated how he feels about it and what he thinks, and gave us his legal opinion. But yeah.
No, thank you, Kelly, and I will definitely take that, everything that was said, and try to still press forward and reach out to Mr. Williams. It's so funny he brought up the oversight of for the administration, because I do remember all of us on the council working on that last year. So with the ordinance, so it's good. Sometimes we do stuff and sometimes it might come back to us, but I appreciate you, all the recommendations and also the concerns that so many people have. Again, I came on this council not to continue the status quo, so to make some changes and change the way people think and do things. So this is just another idea. I mean, is it fully fleshed out? Probably not, but I look forward to continue the discussion. So thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Hoey, and then Ms. Keegan.
Yeah, again, we don't have to use the ARPA funds for this. Maybe we need to look into having a budget line put in for council members. I know the county legislature, Frank Camiso, about 6 years ago, came to the PTA and said, look, I got $2,000 that I'm allowed to give out to groups. And we were able to buy soccer goals for the park across the street using that $2,000. So maybe that's something we could look at, including in next year's budget. I'm not looking for $50,000, but it'd be nice to have, like with the county ledge, a couple of thousand that for useful purpose that we can help out different areas of our ward. It might be something that we should look at, and then it'd be more permanent too. So it's not just one-shot deals of financing, that we build something in for the future. And as Owusu said, who knows the wards better than the people that are elected to represent the ward? So it might be a good opportunity. I don't even know where to start, how we could do that. Maybe, but it'd be something that I would definitely help with if we could figure out a way to do it.
Ms. Keegan.
I just want to echo Mr. Hoey's comments and reiterate, my concern is not necessarily, Mr. Owusu, your idea behind the council having an opportunity to be able to have some funding to directly support issues or concerns in their wards. My concern is really around how this fits in specifically with ARPA. So, if what comes out of this is really looking at how we allocate the council budget for the next budget cycle, I'm 100%, behind you in creating an opportunity for us to have a grant program that mirrors what the county and what the state legislature provides. I don't necessarily feel like the idea or proposal as it currently stands really fits in with the federal requirements for ARPA or the city's requirements for ARPA. And I think that there's definitely a conflict of interest for the council in the fact that I think there's 4 members of the body currently that are on the decision-making team, and then a number of us that have stepped up to help with the initial review process.
Yeah, so it again, a great idea, Pitfalls. I would also point out that while doing and this is off, doing $50,000 per member may make sense and may equal, but it's certainly not equitable. If you look at and I said that to you, some wards, by virtue of being taken care of all along, would get a smaller bit of that, just to be fair to some of the lesser taken care of wards.
Or even just an example of my ward, I have 2 businesses in my ward. I have no businesses. And that's not to say that there aren't initiatives that I would love to have money to put towards, but and I agree, if we're looking at ARPA, helping businesses is an important thing. And I feel like that would be kind of wasted on me,
Yeah.
It's also it's also a different grant pool from what the current grant pool is. Sorry, just to point that out.
No, and Kelly, that's such a good point that you bring up about looking at this from an equity lens. So I hope that we look at funding moving forward, that we look at it from that lens also. So no, that's definitely a good recommendation. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. President.
Thank you. I'm glad that it was brought up. Mr. Nani contacted me about this. I welcome the discussion because, as I said before, this ARPA funding has certain requirements and things of that nature. But I think the intent is something I campaigned on years ago about the council having some type of monies that they can do in their own ward. So I think set aside this 25 million, we did get the rest minus 25 million, we do have more coming through that will be in our budgets. And I think that is the appropriate way to start looking at council having some type of expenditures to do things in their own ward with. I think that's more than appropriate. I think it's the start of something progressive. We cannot continue as legislators, right? That's why we talked about the staffing, more staffing. The council is a legislative body of government, and that is historically in the past. These are things the council members never had to think about or would think about because they never saw themselves as separate from the executive branch of government. And now with this council, past probably last 2 councils are starting to see themselves as an equal branch and a separate branch of government. And so these things, to move it forward, to continue to be equal and have some say, I think, not just the budget item for council members, but also as we continue to do as leadership, is provide staff so this council can do its job even more effectively. So I think this discussion is a great time to discuss this when we have this influx of cash coming through. And I hear council members. I'm glad that they're really talking about looking at this is budget items in the budget. So.
You muted yourself. Were you done?
Oh, sorry, I must have missed. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, unless, Mr. Hoey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I didn't realize when we had the gentleman from the planning department, I thought it was a question and answer period. I didn't mean to go off, so I apologize to everybody on that. Listen, last council, I brought up about setting up a good and welfare fund. Assemblywoman Fahey's son died, and it'd be nice if we had something where we could send, as a council, to the family, but I don't know if people want to discuss it now, or I don't want to hold people up, but if we each threw in like $20, we'd have a nice little bit of like a thing for, people get married or somebody gets sick or something, that we have money there to, and I'm just thinking just for the council. So I was just wondering what people might think on that.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it is a great idea. We did a little bit of that before. Judy was kind of in charge of pulling folks together for for deaths, special occasions and stuff like that. Are you volunteering to be that person? Sounds like it.
Yeah, I could do it. I don't mind. I could also bring up about the pins too. Somebody had asked me about it. Do we want, in the last council, we had ordered pens. Remember, we tried to get the council to pay for it. And Richard at the time felt it wasn't, I shouldn't say, but we didn't get, we each chipped in, I think it was around $19, and we had 6 pins made up. I'd be willing to do that also, and front the money till they come in. But yeah, I don't mind doing it if people would like.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Miss Romero, then Miss Amer.
I can also help out with organizing funds or items for that type of, like, either weddings or family members passing or something like that. My only concern, though, is that I'm not sure if Council Member Hoey meant to use public funds, like we would add like a budget line for us. But if it was, okay, I see shaking heads. Okay, cool. Yeah. If we were just gonna like Venmo someone and then they'd take care of it, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it'd be like throwing $20 in each, and and 15 times 20 is, it's a little over $300. And then if we need to replenish it, we could, I don't know. I know Ginny had done it before. I know when I remember Dorsey had the baby, we chipped in, and some people didn't chip in, but we did cover for it. But it'd be nice just to have a fund there, and either you do it or if I do it, just to keep an accounting of where we spent it, and just we would pass it at a meeting. We'd talk at a caucus and say, should we do this and how much should we spend, stuff like that. We do it at work. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Ms. Zamer, and then Mr. Anani.
Just quickly, since the passing of Pat Fahey's son was brought up, I don't know if it's, I know some of us are pretty close to this, but if it's appropriate, if it's something that the Common Council does in like releasing a statement of condolence, or if that's something that leadership has considered, or if you think that that's not appropriate, then that's fine too. But it occurred to me that I've been seeing some bodies expressing their condolences, and maybe that's something we would want to consider.
Yes. And actually, our legislative aide kind of brought it up earlier today. So we're working on something. Okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mr. Nani, then Ms. Frederick.
Yeah, I was gonna just talk about the pins. I think this is such a great idea, especially now too, like different council members have different pins, and I think it would be good for all of us to be consistent, when we out there in the public representing the council. So I just want to echo Tom's idea as it relates to the pin. And also with St. Patrick's Day Parade coming up, I know many of us will be walking in it. And I know Danielle is working hard to find a banner for us. So hopefully we can get a banner to walk in the parade. So I believe it's March 12th. It's a Saturday. So more details will follow, but yeah, I just want to share that. Thank you.
Ms. Frederick.
I also wanted to support the pins. Somebody who joined midterm, I was lucky to get one from Derek, I believe. He gave me one of his. So anywho, that would be nice to get new pins. I will say that if it's possible, I don't know if we could use the council money for that, similar to how we use like the money for business cards or the like. If not, then obviously, no issue contributing, but I feel like that's a justifiable expense.
Are you sure, Sonia, that is justifiable?
I said I feel, so.
Okay, Ms. Farrell, Ms. Romero, are you back in the queue again? Okay, Ms. Farrell, Ms. Romero, and then Mr. Clark.
Kelly, I'm not sure if you talked about this before, but I would like to talk about goals for leadership meetings.
I did. We didn't come up with any goals, but I did discuss that.
All right. Okay. I would say, because it would be really helpful as someone who I'm pretty passionate about setting goals, and it's hard to achieve success without goal setting. So I would really, really appreciate it for members to think about that, like what, and I've had conversations with newer members about what your expectations are that's happening. And even if it's something like that, like what did you imagine was happening in leadership meetings? What would you like to see happening in leadership meetings? Because it's not, I think that from, a lot of different perspectives, we would love to see a more productive meeting happen, but without having that conversation about what that looks like with the administration and then moving forward with that, we're not really going to be able to, if we're just like, this isn't great, that's not achieving anything. So it would be really, really helpful. I just wanted to urge everyone, the only way that we can make these meetings more productive is to come up with some goals and some ideas to move forward with them, so we have the best chance of success. So that's it.
Ms. Romero.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on my admittedly heated email that I sent everyone about the covering of the badges and the report that was provided. I'm just not sure, like, when is our next public safety committee meeting? What is our next step? And maybe if we as a council, I was hoping to discuss this in the public safety meeting, but what is our next step with regards to how we're going to address that, if at all?
You're muted.
Yep. What I would suggest is you want to review or have a discussion in public safety regarding the report. We have to just reach out to the chair and set up a meeting, and we'll get together and talk about it. So,
and if that meeting is scheduled, I'd love to also in that meeting deal with local law, the Public Safety Commission local law in that meeting as well.
Right. Now, I think actually we need, or I'm sure you'd like to see some moving forward with the local. I mean, again, as a person that was public safety chair before, cramming a lot of stuff into a meeting, it just doesn't work out because there are just tons and tons of questions. So however y'all set it up with the chair is fine, but
thank you.
Be mindful.
We'll
it
figure
makes
it
for
out.
a long night. Yeah. Yep.
Happy.
Mr. Clark, then Mr. Holly.
Thank you. I'm not sure how many residents in Albany that we have from Ukraine, but I just wondered if anyone had any thoughts on the resolution and support. I know I haven't offered it, but I guess I'm a little surprised when I go through and, we haven't done that. So I guess just asking, is that something we work with someone on drafting or something we could add to the agenda?
Sounds like something that you would like to put together for an MC, and I'm sure you'd get a lot of co-sponsors, and I'm happy to work with you on it.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get a feel if everyone felt that was appropriate.
I'm happy to help you out with that as well, Councilmember.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Hoey and then Ms. Stamer.
Yeah, there was a couple of things. I just wanted to respond to Gabriella. We have a violence task force meeting tomorrow. And I even mentioned to Kelly today that I want to see how that goes and then do the public safety meeting and then also deal with, to let Corey know, because, discussion came up with the violence task force, how that relates to the to local law C. So there's a bunch of moving parts and it's just getting the time, but I agree with Kelly that I'd like to, dedicate, we'll have to have more meetings is what it boils down to. Rather than trying to squeeze in 2 or 3 items, let's just concentrate. And I think covering the bad should be the first thing that we deal with at the next meeting. So, just stay tuned. I just want to see how the violence task force goes tomorrow, and then I'll work with Ethan to schedule another meeting.
Well, I'm going to push back on that a little bit because it's just a report. I don't know. We don't have any jurisdiction to do anything. So I don't know why that would be a long discussion. I mean, unless you're going to read the whole report. And
well, I'm concerned about, Corey, is public comment. Will we have 30 or 40 people show up? Unless I close down.
They could do that, but they could do that at a council meeting as well. That's my point. I don't see, yeah, you can discuss it, but we don't have any jurisdiction to do anything. But I can understand the public comment part.
Yeah, and do we have a limit with committee meetings, how long public comment can go? I mean, with a regular council meeting, it's an hour.
It's up to the chair.
Okay.
You're the chair of the committee.
Okay. Yeah. I'll talk to you. Let's figure out, if we can do it, we can do it. But I just wanted to get that out. Second thing I want to get real fast, Owusu brought up about the parade banner. I ordered from my union 32 of them for our 32 chapters. I could get prices if people thought that was a good idea. I think it's a great idea that, in a parade, and we do, once COVID's over, I'm hoping we can get out there more. And, as a council, we do have several parades a year. It might be nice. So I can get that. I'll go ahead and get the prices. I'm not going to design it though, but I'll find out how much roughly it would cost and pass that back to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Ms. Singer?
I was just going to request and echo that that local law C be its own meeting, be like certainly the focus of public safety meeting. I think that's gonna require a lot of discussion, and is potentially a transformative piece of legislation that there's a time sensitive element to it. So I would also ask that be the focus of the next discussion if possible.
Thank you, Ms. Samer. So, okay. If no one anyone have anything else? Questions, comments? No? All right. Take a motion to adjourn. Okay, Mr. Adams. Okay. We're all set. All right. Thank you, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.
This is good discussion.